So I'm sure you've seen the very provocative video by Teray arguing that spanking children is domestic violence. And there were a lot of responses, there was a lot of conversation around it. And I think that the conversation needs a little bit more nuance. So I don't disagree with any of the science. Um, Teray had a child development expert on there, and she flat out stated that the science says that when you use corporal punishment on a child, the way a child's brain works, no learning is taking place because you trigger their fight or flight response once you are inflicting pain on them. I 100% agree with that. The thing is, I don't necessarily think learning is the purpose of spanking. I think the purpose of spanking is to trigger a um, li- uh, reptile brain response in a child. Let me explain. You're sitting on your lawn, your child's playing in front of you with a ball. The ball goes out into the street. You say to the child, do not chase that ball. Stop. The child doesn't stop. The child chases the ball anyway. If you explain to the child, I'm taking the ball away from you. You don't get to play with it anymore today because I told you not to run out into the street after the ball and you ran anyway. The child may listen or the child may make the mistake a second time. I mean, that happens. They're kids. The thing is, the second time could be the time that they get struck by a car and killed. So you use spanking for no second chance situations. Um, any time where the second time the child makes the mistake may lead to their death, you use spanking to bypass learning and trigger a mild post-traumatic stress disorder response so that when they go to chase the ball, their body remembers what happens the last time and they stop and they don't chase the ball. um, Catch your child playing with matches. Catch your child sticking uh, uh, an object in the electric socket. The next time they do it could be the dead time. So you use spanking judiciously. Here's where it gets complicated for Black parents. If your child is a teen and they're talking smack to you, you don't like it, but they're teens, they're in their rebellious stage, they're going to talk smack. So you take away their phone, you take away their video game console, you stick them in their room so they'll think twice about talking smack to you, right? Except they're teens. They're going to talk smack to you again. Your fear as a Black parent is that if they talk smack to you, what's to keep them from talking smack to a cop when he does some bullshit that isn't right and stops them for no reason? Then you're visualizing your child in a pool of blood. So you spank the child so that they are in, under voice control of you and under a because I said so and under a yes sir, no sir. It is not good, but it is not irrational. It is a rational reaction to an irrational environment. And the environment is the United States under white supremacy. We have kids that are kindergarten, first, second, and third grade where they're cutting up in their classroom and the police are being called rather than them being sent to the principal's office for a timeout. So you're a parent and your child's not doing what you say, you're afraid they're going to not do what the teacher says. In a normal, rational world, you would be like, oh, you're going to go sit in the corner for a little while till you get your attitude fixed, right? But we're not in a rational world. We're in a world where kindergarten, first, second, and third graders are having the police called on them by the school. You, a black parent may feel that they have to spank to avoid the consequence of the child making the mistake a second time, and the consequence being having the police called on them when they're K or first or second or third grade, or being shot by a cop when they're a teen. And your teenage child knows that the police are not their friend if they're a black child. Your teenage child, you could sit down and talk to them and train them, but they're teens and they have that teen brain. And sometimes, like sometimes the kids that are being shot by cops aren't even teenage, they're younger than that. So you want a reptile brain response to where when they see a cop, they immediately go into yes, sir, no, sir, that attitude, bypassing the frontal cortex because you don't want your child to get shot. Is it good? No, it is not good. Is it domestic violence? Yes. By the textbook definition of domestic violence, it is domestic violence. But is it irrational? No, because we are not in a rational situation. Spanking, discipline, is an allegory. If the repeated behavior is going to wind your child up in jail, then you put them on timeout to as an allegory for the isolation of a prison cell. If the behavior is going, if repeated, will wind up with your child being dead, then you spank them as an allegory for death. Unfortunately, in the United States today, there are so many situations that should be just a timeout, just let me explain it to you, but you can't explain the irrationality of white supremacy to a child. There are too many situations where the consequence of a repeat behavior could wind up being the child's death. So you use the spanking allegory because it's an allegory for death, but it's an allegory for death in totally irrational situations. And that is unfortunate, but it's also the truth.